Tonight, the Colorado GOP chair isn't happy with Congresswoman Lauren Boebert's decision to run for a new congressional district next year. KRDO 13 Scott Harrison is live in the newsroom with a reaction to the impact this may have on next year's elections. Scott?
Yeah, Bart, State Republican Chairman Dave Williams describes Boebert's switch as shocking and is something he never expected. He told her campaign that the decision is not good for either district involved. Williams is also a state representative for El Paso County's District 15, so he's well aware of the ins and outs of politics and campaigns. He says that Congressional District 3 will suffer because it will lose Boebert's name, recognition, and influence, also advantages as an incumbent, Congresswoman. But Williams thinks that fundraising by her Democratic opponent, Adam Frisch, may be the biggest factor in leaving her home district.
She felt that because of the fundraising that was coming in from national Democrats and dark money groups, that it was probably too much to overcome for her. I don't think that's correct. I think those are assumptions that were faulty.
Yep. When the going got tough, Lauren Boebert got going. Fled to the other side of her state in Colorado to find a new congressional district. She was hoping it would be more fertile ground for her craziness and her ridiculousness that she's been taking to Washington, D.C. on behalf of the people of Colorado, or not on their behalf. She packed her guns and her vape and headed out. And she did it, because she's got competition, the same competition as last time. And, you guys know I love a second-time candidate. Adam Frisch is back in the race. By the way, he's now the top fundraising challenger in the country as of last reporting period. And I love second-time candidates, and they bring a lot up to the candidacy from the lessons they've learned. It's clear Adam is one of those and is running a great race. I'm hoping to get him into the hot seat and talk to him for quite a while, and I finally did. I am Fred Wellman, host of On Democracy with FP Wellman, right here in the MeidasTouch Network, and this is In the Hot Seat with FP Wellman. Adam, it's so great to connect with you finally, talk to you directly. I think we've exchanged messages over the years. Thanks for taking time. I know you're busy. You've got a gigantic district you're running in. So welcome to the MeidasTouch Network. It's great to have you here, sir.
Great to be here. Thanks, Fred.
You came within a hair last time. 500 plus votes to Lauren Boebert in Colorado 3. She's taken off. You had to deal with her. You had the relentless MAGA insanity. I just got to ask you, man, you're a family man, businessman. Why do it again? I love second-time candidates, but why are you running, brother? Why are you in this fight again? Why'd you put yourself through it twice?
Well, it's great to be here, Fred, and love your show. Listen, the first time I got in there was a couple reasons. One was to make sure that the current Congresswoman that you mentioned before is no longer part of Congress. We did half of that because for the first time, I think in 25 years, we sent a sitting congressperson packing with their tail between their legs, not due to redistricting, and she hightailed 300 miles east. And I hope that there's some people there that can see her defeated in Colorado's 4th district. She did some polling in December, and she was in a lot of trouble to us, and we know that for a fact. Wow. And so anyway, onward we go. The other reason is, I'm not sure you know this, but there's about 2,000 rural counties in the country out of about 3,000. 2,000 rural counties. Bill Clinton won half of them in 1996. Barack Obama won 25% of them. 8 years later, 10 years later, and the president, with all due respect, won fewer than 10% of the rural counties in 2020. And I'm focusing on trying to see a balance in rural America, seeing representation that people are going to take the job seriously. And yes, it's been hard on the family without a doubt. We have a district that's larger than the entire state of Pennsylvania. It's 50,000 square miles. I've driven 50,000 miles since I started this journey in February of 22. And it's been hard because I've been on the road about 25 days a month, literally for over 2 years. And while my wife, Katie, and my son, Felix, and somewhat my daughter, Quintessa, really encouraged all of us to take this leap as a family, it's not easy on all of us, but it's important. It's an important time for all of us to step up in whatever way we might be able to do it. And we've been on this crazy journey. But as you pointed out, there was a lot of skepticism from the Republican Party, from the Democratic Party, from my mother, for that matter. We were supposed to lose by 40,000 votes, given the demographics of the district, and we ended up losing by a little bit over 500.
Right, which is common sense, and that should give NSB hope, right? Like, and you were talking about earlier. I mean, your district, while Colorado's interesting. You can register an independent. It's not just like a lot of states. I know how many, but and it sounds like you had to get a whole lot of those independents to vote for you. And it is that. And when you go around the district, what are you hearing? Is it they just want to see some common sense? I mean, what are the thematics you're hearing when you talk to those people?
Yeah, so before we can get into the issue aspect, here's a couple of things, Fred, that I think are very, very true. And I feel like I've done a 50,000-mile focus group, not on purpose,
Right.
but just listening and learning from people.
Right.
We have some of the wealthiest counties in the country. We have some of the least well off. We have counties that are 85% Republican. We have counties that are 85% Democrat, and I show up in all of them.
Yeah.
One, everyone in the country is exhausted. The number one word I hear that I mention or they mention to me, people are exhausted, and they're exhausted with the national political conversation. My buddy Dean Phillips, who I grew up with, he talked about this angertainment aspect to politics lately, and I give him credit, but I talked about it a lot last cycle, and we'll talk about it again. People are sick and tired of the yelling and the screaming, and they want to get rid of that. They want that to stop. The vast majority of people, whether they're Democrats or Republicans or independents, and I go after all of them, they just want the noise to be turned down, and they want someone to show up and listen and focus on the issues that matter to them, and not these firebrand issues that do get a lot of hits on Twitter and elsewhere, but it's really not where real America is, especially those of us in Western and Southern Colorado.
Yeah, and you've got real issues, I mean, and people aren't addressing them. And when your whole goal in life is get a Fox hit or even an MSNBC hit, if we're being honest, right? There's not time to actually do the work, and I think a lot of people, who would be shocked who, drive through Colorado on I-70 in the winter, which goes right in the middle of your district, by the way. You drive through in the winter, there's a lot of water, right? There's a lot of snow up in the western slope, but there's a challenge with water in the western slope, and that's a big issue. I know you're dealing with on a regular basis. Hell, I see stories about it where I live. My girlfriend spends a lot of time in Colorado. I mean, is that a big issue you're fighting and trying to deal with, or explain that a little bit for those who don't know?
Yeah, the quasi joke is the top three issues in Colorado's third district is water, water, water. Obviously trying to get, it's a little bit of a pox in both houses, really, because people are so frustrated with DC. And that's why we've resonated well, not taking corporate PAC money, trying to ban stock trading in Congress. There's some common sense things I think we all agree on, or we all should. Water is really, really important. We don't have enough of it. I grew up in the Midwest a little bit, and I'm up in Montana where it's also dry. And Colorado is the headwaters for a 100-year-old agreement between 7 states and 30 tribal lands. It goes all the way from California, Arizona, and Nevada. We also have what are known as upper basin states in Utah, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Colorado. And we're trying to figure out how to keep as much of water possible in Colorado. And that's something that's really, really important to all of us. We need it for not only recreation as well as conservation and the global climate crisis, but we also need it for our agriculture business, our recreation business, our farming business. And everybody knows, regardless of where you are politically, it's getting hotter and drier. People are farming at different times of year. They're hunting at different times of year. They're planting at different times of year. And everyone is very, very concerned about the arid aspect of the Western Colorado and Southern Colorado. And farming and ranching is the heart and soul of our district. So I will be working together with Democrats and Republicans in Utah and in New Mexico and in Wyoming, and try to sit down and have serious conversations, not through Twitter or cable news network yelling and screaming, but actually sitting down in those subcommittee meetings and those committee meetings, grinding away about issues that matter to the real people of Western and Southern Colorado.
Yeah, and the fact you've driven 50,000 miles tells the average person, you're a person who's going to put his straps boots on and go, management by walking around. Because what I hear when I talk about water is you got agencies, multiple federal agencies, state agencies. It's bipartisan. You're dealing with counties and states, and if you're a hyper partisan, for example, like the predecessor in this office, maybe people won't take that call, and the only people that hurts is your district, right?
No, I would stand up in some of the most conservative chamber of commerces in our district, and I would say, listen, at some point, there could be 8 of us from the Colorado congressional delegation sitting across from 52 people from the California delegation. And with all due respect to our friends in California, I would say to my Colorado conservative friends, who do you want sitting in that chair? Do you want me or her? trying to negotiate on a 100-year contract, and people
Right.
would put their head down and they would chuckle, but they would know. And I would argue now that even though the Boebert's gone, no matter who we run against, no one is going to work harder, put in more miles, do more listening, or have a true understanding of how important water is to the west slope of Colorado and southern Colorado as well.
Yeah, and it's a massive district. I mean, you mentioned it a couple times now, and like I said, I've driven through. Had the joy to see how beautiful it is. I think you go all the way from Vail all the way to the border, and I remember thinking as I drove through the most recently, especially as you come up the slope and it's just wide open. Like you said, wide open brown. It's a wide open dry space. I mean, first of all, like you said, you've got the more populous parts, but I imagine in those rural areas, I mean, there must be challenge. I know we're here in Missouri where I live. We're having real problems with rural healthcare. We're having real problems with getting healthcare. You guys don't have the abortion issue as much as a lot of states do. But how is there a challenge there for your district on rural healthcare? I mean, it's a huge district.
Yeah. No, it's funny you picked it up, Fred, because after the water conversation and talking about some of the economics and cost of living, we have more in common with rural Tennessee than we do in the Denver metro area when it comes to tackling healthcare access.
I believe
everyone in
that.
the country, Fred, has healthcare access issues because of how damn expensive it is from an insurance standpoint. And actually, when you go and see your doctor and physician and your nurse, our issues here is that we have a good chunk of our district are living in counties that have fewer than 1,000 people, in towns that have 500 people, and half of our district is they're an hour away from their caregiver. And if that caregiver packs up and goes, which is happening a little bit more and more, people are driving 2 or 3 hours. And even some of the more affluent areas, there's a lack of healthcare access. And the rural mental health, it resonates in the wealthy counties and it resonates in some of our least well-off counties. Sadly, our ranching and farming communities are seeing higher suicide rates than our veterans. And I know that you're a veteran. Thank you for your service. You've been involved in that. I think we're sadly still losing 20 veterans a day to suicide. And those farmers and ranchers, not just in Colorado, but everywhere out west, are really starting to run into a lot of mental health issues. And mental health is not a moneymaker. And so when those hospitals show up or they want to expand, mental health is not at the top of their game. And we need to figure out a way to have more mental health providers. And whether it's mental health or physical health, Republicans get sick, independents get sick, and Democrats get sick. And no one cares what party affiliation your doctor is or what your patient is. They just want better healthcare access, and we're laser focused on that as well.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And you've got a very diverse population, which probably people wouldn't guess, right? You've got farm workers, you said, as you mentioned, you've got the richest people in the world up the mountain. It has to be a challenge to bring all them and herd them together. To somebody who's dedicated to that project. I was looking also your race. I mean, I love looking at Ballotpedia and seeing. I believe you've got. I'm looking at my notes. I have to. By my count, 11 Republicans vying for the nomination. And 5 independents on the ballot right now. And you're the only Democrat, right? I mean, has the calculations changed?
Yeah, we're running unopposed. We have a clear path to this end of June district. So we're just, I'm spending that time. Listen, we've earned the trust of a lot of people, and we will continue to just drive around. I was home last week for 7 nights in a row, and it's the longest I've been home on my pillow. Since we started this 2.25 years ago. And that just shows our commitment to what we're doing, and we're getting out there. There are a lot of other people running, the independents and libertarians and the unity, whatever else is going on, and the Republicans. They're all having their ballot in caucuses, and I don't even understand how the kind of state works. But in about 2 weeks, we'll have a better idea of how many people on there. But we assume there's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7 Republicans on the ballot. And, at the end of this cycle, we'll have some money in the bank. We'll always need more money. And we'll have just that many more miles of the road getting in front of Democrats, getting in front of Republicans, getting in front of independents. And to remind everybody out there, our district is 22% registered Democrat. 32 registered Republican and 45% registered independent, which I was for 20 years. And we have very pragmatic people. As you probably know, Fred, there's no such thing as an unpragmatic rancher or an unpragmatic farmer. You will be out of business. And that was the other caveat that we saw running against no matter what you want to say about Representative Boebert, she's about as unpragmatic as they come. And people are just looking, again, they want the angertainment to stop. They're exhausted. They want someone to take the job seriously with a smile and a sense of humor, but also understand how important it is to focus on ag, ranching, farming, public lands, natural resources. That's what we're all about in the Adam for Colorado campaign.
I love it, and it's a great place to go next. So, obviously, people want you've gotten some great help. Obviously, you're doing great, but you do have a fight ahead of you. It's even harder now. You don't have like a firebrand per se. Although, from looking at some of your opponents, you probably will still have a firebrand.
We're going to be running against. We're going to be running. One of our opponents proudly was at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th.
Okay.
Proudly made a television ad when he ran for U.S. Senate. He took some old Xerox copy machines and relabeled them Dominion voting machine. He pulled out his rifle and shot up his Dominion voting machines as on a television ad. So just because Representative Boebert's gone doesn't mean we're not going to be running against some people that don't represent the vast majority of people, even what I would argue on the Republican side. And listen, we have Republican friends, independent friends, Democrat friends. So, but we have 4 media markets to advertise, and I need to continue to put gas into the Ford pickup truck. And
I love it. So how can they do that? How can they do it?
AdamForColorado.com, AdamForColorado.com. There's a donate button there. We just released our numbers this quarter. We had almost 50,000 donors, and a lot of them in Colorado, obviously, even past Boebert. So we're continuing to attract a lot of people. And so, literally the $5, the $10, the $25, the $1,000, it all adds up. And no donation is too small. It just gives us all a big boost that the breadth of our support is more important than the depth of each or any individual contribution. So just keep that in mind. Don't feel bad about going to AdamForColorado.com. And thanks.
I love it. Well, Adam, I appreciate your time. I'm happy to finally get a chance to talk to you, and we'll be keeping track of you. Stay in touch, and we wish you the best of luck, and be careful driving out there.
Stay healthy. See you on the road, Fred.
Yep, we'll see you soon. 50,000 miles driving, visiting a huge district. I love these conversations. We learn more about these unique districts and unique races from around the country. I hope you're getting value out of it because it does matter. Adam could use your help. All of our Democratic candidates could use your help. We'll be presenting many more of these I've mentioned before right here on the MeidasTouch Network. As usual, you can find my show on Democracy every Friday night, 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on the MeidasTouch Network. I hope you join us, and I hope you'll stay in the fight.